Well, of course, any legitimate aircraft can be controlled totally through the FAA and the various control centers and towers. However, a hijacked aircraft that is under control of...
I want to interrupt you for just a minute. The White House is being evacuated. That comes to us from one of our Fox producers in Washington. The White House is being evacuated. The Pentagon as well. It should be noted that there are sharpshooters on the roof of the White House who have anti-aircraft missiles for just this kind of situation, but the White House is being evacuated. Now, you know that President Bush is not there. He is at this moment in Florida, perhaps boarding Air Force One to prepare to return to the nation's capital. I don't want to incite any undue panic, but there is a report only, of another aircraft that has crashed on Interstate 395, one of the main routes in Washington, D.C. Now, that is only a report at this point, but given the pictures you're seeing on your screen right now, anything is possible. David Asman is joining us from Fox Central. David, what do you have?
John, we are hearing right now of another explosion that has taken place at the Pentagon. We have the heart of the financial district of America being attacked. Now we understand that there is an explosion, there has been an explosion in the Pentagon, the heart of the military command center of the United States of America, John. It can't get much worse than this. Let's hope.
Let's hope. David Asman. That would be right next to Interstate 395, so that report, the Pentagon is next to I-395, one of the main commuter highways in and out of Washington, D.C. So, David, that would fit in with this report that we had earlier.
We must, as we've said before, not only have we not heard that a city is under a lockdown, but we must say we've seen schools under siege. We must say now that we are a nation under siege. Right now, we are a nation under siege. There is a terrorist attack, as you can see, at the heart of the financial capital of the world, and now one at the heart of the military command center of the United States of America, the Pentagon. Apparently, there has been an explosion. We have no further details. We don't know the extent of that, but we do have word that there's been an explosion at the Pentagon as well.
And there are some smoke clouds that we can see that is the Washington, D.C. area.
You're looking at, I think that's the, obviously the old Executive Office building in the foreground, perhaps looking out over with the White House to the left. Now we're back looking at the World Trade Center. This obviously the most public type of attack. This video shown across the world, you have to wonder if the terrorists who are responsible for this horrible act are now watching these very same pictures that we are.
Well, I have a feeling they are. Brian Wilson, our Washington correspondent, is on Capitol Hill. Brian, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that there was no increased security around the Capitol as I made my way into the building, but in the last few minutes we have seen a great deal of action around the city. There is smoke just across the river from the White House, not that far. And as you know, in the last few minutes there are reports that the Pentagon has been evacuated and the White House is being evacuated. Clearly, you're seeing now these pictures from Washington, D.C. as we try to determine exactly what has happened there, but there was an early report of a plane perhaps going down in that area. These are early reports, and we are still struggling to confirm the information. But we can tell you that they're taking things very seriously in Washington in that they are apparently evacuating the White House and the Pentagon. Here at Capitol Hill, Laura Bush is now speaking with Ted Kennedy. A hearing that was scheduled for her to appear at has been canceled. We would be watching very carefully to see whether she is also asked to leave the Capitol and go to a safe place.
Yeah, Brian Wilson, the Capitol is being evacuated, we're told, and clearly that shot that we have on our screen now, this is the Pentagon just across the river from Washington, D.C. You got to believe that it has happened again. Another large airliner, perhaps hijacked, perhaps part of some widespread plan, apparently slamming into at least the area around the Pentagon, along with the World Trade Center in Manhattan, the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in Manhattan. The Sears Tower in Chicago is being evacuated. Clearly, authorities all over the country are trying to be prudent in this unbelievable catastrophe. 2 towers of the World Trade Center, 50,000 people who work in those buildings on fire, the fire out of control. Firefighters are going to take days, perhaps, to get this under control, but the Twin Towers on fire as after being slammed into by 2 jetliners earlier this morning. Bill Daly, let me bring you into the conversation. Actually, Bill, let me interrupt for just a second. Molly Falconer has some updated information for us. Molly? Molly Falconer, are you with us? All right, Bill Daly, let me go back to you for a minute. Clearly a coordinated strike. My heart is pounding. I'm sure yours is as well. What does the FBI do at this point? What does the nation's military do?
Well, certainly the nation's military will be put on alert. This is no doubt about it. Is that, you know, when in the gaming of looking at potential terrorist events, it's always the concern, as David Asman mentioned earlier, that there'll be some type of diversionary incident, and there'll be several others. And I think clearly this is what we're seeing here. The concern is that when a terrorist strikes like this, is that they're going to want to do as much as they can, as quick as they can, because before you know it, there'll be everything will be locked down, as David said, and we will be on a high state of alert. So their chance of doing something more anytime soon will be nil. The opportunity to do that. Also, just speaking from personal perspective, having worked down in the area of the World Trade Center, having been down there as recently as yesterday, I can tell you that logistically, to get people in and out of there, people who are wounded, fire rescue people, is a monumental effort even on a good day, with traffic, with pedestrians in the area. We have the World Financial Center just literally across the street, which I'm sure has probably incurred some debris shattering upon it. It's a tremendous logistical, I would say at this point, challenge and nightmare for people who are trying to rescue, put out the fires that are being, I'm sure, fueled by the jet fuel as well as the interior of the building.
We now understand that the Federal Aviation Administration is shutting down all airline takeoffs nationwide. All airliners nationwide there will be no more takeoffs, and I imagine that the planes that are in the air right now are going to be diverted to the closest airport as soon as possible, because in a situation like this, the authorities don't know where the next one might come from, the next rogue aircraft. We have seen the World Trade Center, both towers hit by jetliners. We've seen the Pentagon apparently hit by a jetliner. Authorities want to take every precaution they can, and so all aircraft takeoffs nationwide have been stopped.
You've got to think that that is an indication, one would suspect, that this was a hijacking, or at least one of them was a hijacking, because that would indicate that they don't know if there is another plane where it'd be coming from. And one way to prevent a repeat, whether it would be a 4th attack, if that's indeed what happened out at the Pentagon.
Well, and we are looking at pictures of the Pentagon area now, Eric, and it's quite clear from the smoke cloud that some enormous explosion hit there.
Would the Pentagon be protected by anti-aircraft missiles such as are at the White House, believed to be at the White House roof? Perhaps this plane, if it was a plane at the Pentagon, was heading toward the Pentagon, could it have been shot down by our military before it got there? Because that appears to be smoke from jet fuel a little bit away from the Pentagon, not on the actual building itself, as we look at this. But let me again say, the plane that I saw was heading here in Manhattan. The first plane that I believe was heading south. It was above Fifth Avenue at a low altitude, which was rare, but it is a usual jet route from planes, especially planes that are vectored down from the north, whether it be from Canada or whether it be from Boston. As Rita Cosby, our colleague, had reported, there are sources telling her that perhaps it was one of the planes was a hijacked plane from Boston.
We have